were you also advised in terms of what you subsequently did at this crime scene that the light panel or the breaker box had been turned off in the garage area?
Yes.
And were you also advised, again, with respect to what you subsequently did, that the those lights on that breaker box were turned back on by the first responder?
Yes.
Okay. Did you actually examine the circuit breaker box?
Yes.
Where was that?
Walking in from the garage, it was just to the right of the entry, or to the door that went into the kitchen from the garage.
Okay.
From the two-car side.
Okay. So if we're talking about the two-car side, we're talking about this this area here that would be behind the gate to the left of the home. Is that right?
Yes.
And next to the two-car garage, there's another single-car garage that we see here in this photograph that's been marked as People's Exhibit 9, page 9, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When you looked at that that breaker box, did you make any determinations as to what, if anything, you were going to do?
It was a smooth surface, not a textured surface, so I left the breaker box switches for the latent print unit to process,
okay,
as they had a better job or better opportunity to try and recover evidence.
And did you make some determinations based on your collections with the detectives at the scene regarding what you were going to collect and where from?
Yes. The criminalists that arrive, so me, I follow the evidence and I collect the evidence that I deem forensically relevant, and I communicate that with the detectives what I believe is of interest.
So as you're going through the scene, you are continually, as you're saying, updating or advising the detectives of what you're seeing and what you're collecting and why?
Yes.
All right. Now, in terms of the training that we talked about, did you also receive training with respect to what biological fluids might look like, let's say if they were diluted or transferred from one area to another onto a surface area?
Yes.
And did you also receive training regarding what biological fluids look like when they are, let's say, dripped onto a surface?
Yes.
Did you go through this entire home located at 5012 Queen Victoria?
Yes.
And did you notice when you went through the scene anything with respect to some sort of a trail?
Yes, there was a continuous pattern of red stains from garage through the kitchen, back patio, back towards the front door, down a hallway, and into the master bedroom.
Okay. And so did you basically go about following that trail?
Yes.
And during the time that you were at the location, approximately how many samples did you collect?
I collected 43 items of evidence in total.
Okay. Did that include what appeared to be biological or blood stains?
Yes, it was collections of red stains, possible biological material that would happen from touching surfaces, 2 towels, 2 pillowcases, a bottle, and a pair of shoes.
Did you find anything in the upstairs area of this home that was of evidentiary significance or forensic value?
No.
So your collection was limited to the first level, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And did you go about numbering the various items of evidence that you collected or collected samples from in a particular way?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
When I locate items of evidence, I place what we call a photo identification number adjacent to the item of evidence. And what this is it's just a numerical determination of what that item would be in for photography reference, and then in my notes there's a sketch, and then I also have an evidence log. So it's to associate that item of evidence with all subsequent documentation that I will be doing. So it's called a photo ID number, and they're yellow placards.
And are those referred to in the detailed notes that you took as PID numbers?
Correct.
I want to show you exhibit, what's been marked previously as exhibit 7, page 4. And I'm going to turn it right side up for the moment. Do you recognize what you see here?
Yes.
And what is this?
This is a bird's eye view sketch of the home, the first level.
Okay. And who created this?
The actual outline sketch was done by my partner, Matthew Saucedo, but we both made notations on the sketch while we were processing the crime scene.
And is this a piece of paper that is pre-printed with the information that we see at the top left that you bring with you to crime scenes, or that you brought with you to crime scenes at the time, in order to make notations of the sort you're just talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And up on the top right, I see a series of numbers next to what says DR. What does that stand for?
That is the division record. It's the number that is assigned to every case that is processed by the Los Angeles Police Department, and every case has its own unique identifier, and that is this case's identifier.
Okay. And so in terms of the items of evidence that we talked about that you collected at this scene when you were there for several hours, did you collect all of them and book them into LAPD property, as you were talking about a few moments ago, under this unique identifier?
Yes.
Okay. Does this box contain your writing?
Yes.
And is this actually your initials in the box?
Yes.
Okay. And if I flip this document sideways, does this lay out the various areas where you collected evidence from at the residence?
Yes.
And I note that in yellow highlighter there appears to be numbers throughout this diagram. What do those stand for?
Those are the PIDs, so the photo identification numbers. That's how they are designated on the sketch.
Okay. And did you explain in your detailed notes next to the PID numbers what it was that you were collecting?
Yes.
And next to that, did you also include property item numbers?
Yes.
Were there times where the PID number did not match up to, let's say, a property ID number? In other words, you have a PID number of 6, but a property item, a booked item of evidence, as number 7.
Yes, it's very common.
Okay. And did you also, in your notes, identify what the relevant PID or photo ID number was next to the property ID number?
Yes.
Did you also indicate in your notes the date and time of collection of each of these particular samples?
Yes.
And while you were processing this scene and collecting items of evidence, were you working with a forensic photographer?
Yes.
And in what way?
In this case, I was working with forensic photographer Martinez, and I was directing her as to the sequence of photographs that we would want. In this case, we take what is called overalls to begin with, and that is to document the scene as we are walking into it. Then, once I have laid down my photo identification numbers, I directed her to take the pictures to put them into perspective, and then close-up pictures of the actual items of evidence. And again, this is just another stage of the documentation that we perform as we go through the crime scene.
So when you put down, you said your numbers, were your numbers, your PID numbers, a particular color?
Yeah, they're yellowish.
Okay. Were there other placards that you saw at the scene that had been placed prior to your arrival?
When I arrived in the garage, there was some white paper tent markers.
White paper tent markers, in other words, where someone would, let's say, take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and put it over something?
Yes.
Okay. And those had nothing to do with you and your collection, is that correct?
No.
Okay. No, that's not correct?
I mean,